I know. We Christians are just as bad as Muslims who fly planes into buildings and video themselves sawing people's heads off and beheading kids and mutilating women and shooting people who draw cartoons. That's right, you better be just as wary of us Christians, because we don't mess around. Don't be insulting our Jesus, because you think Muslims are bad. Oh man, don't push us. You think the Muslims are bad when they prey on people for insulting Muhammad? You're really gonna get it when Christians pray for you for insulting Jesus.
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
As Christians, we pretty much understand that the Quran is basically a satanic manifesto, in that it's a work meant to influence the rejection of who Jesus says he is. And you might have noticed that somehow, despite the murderous campaigns of the Islamo-fascists, they're somehow the victims. The liberals make excuses for them. Israel is oppressing Palestine. They want to kill if they feel like you've insulted Muhammad. Their ideology is a lashing out of them feeling like victims, and it's working. They belligerently make people feel like they're being treated unfairly, and the pawns in their agenda are the liberal PC culture, paving the way for them. This isn't surprising if you understand that the Quran is a satanic manifesto. You can clearly understand this when you examine the fall of Iblis, or the devil, in the Quran. The Quran is made to reflect the Bible to give it credibility. The devil himself can recite scripture and appear as an angel of light to deceive. His light blinds. It doesn't light the way. It will even tell you that Jesus was born of a virgin, healed the sick, and raised the dead. Yes, it concedes to the record that Jesus was here to give itself credibility. Satan in the Bible is introduced to you as the enemy who does something low, that we can all identify as low, even though many people miss it. I talk about this in my audio book, Weapon of Mass Destruction. The low thing that Satan did wasn't in tempting Eve. The low thing that Satan did was falsely accuse God. That's what his name means, the accuser. That accusation stoked Eve's pride in a feminist fashion, and she got greedy, and as a woman, coveted having equal knowledge to the male figure, God. It is apparent that Satan knew that playing her feminist pride would work because he took this to her instead of Adam, who was right there, and relinquished authority to Eve instead of being the spiritual head God made him to be, and did not insist on the counsel of God. The lowest thing you can do to someone without touching them is slander them. This is why Satan is called the lowest, low as the serpent crawls on its belly. You destroy marriages, businesses, friendships, lives, literally and figuratively, with slander. Satan destroyed Adam and Eve with slander. He falsely accused God, and from there he was able to give himself credibility with Eve. So in the Bible, you clearly identify Satan as the enemy. Even if you only saw him as a tempter, you knew that even tempting people to do something they shouldn't do is wrong, and we find that abhorrent. But in the Quran, Iblis, or the devil, is introduced to you in a very different dynamic. This is how the devil is introduced if you check out Surahs 234, 711, and 712. Example 711. It is we who created you and gave you shape. Then we bade the angels prostrate to Adam, and they prostrate. Not so Iblis. He refused to be of those who prostrate. 712. Allah said, "What prevented thee from prostrating when I commanded thee?" He said, "I am better than he. Thou didst create me from fire, and him from clay." In the Bible, Satan is introduced to you as an unmistakable enemy, manipulative and slanderous. Nobody digs that. Even people who are manipulative and slanderous get mad if they think you're trying to manipulate them or accuse them of anything, even if they're actually guilty. However, in the Quran, Iblis is introduced to you as a victim, and everybody can identify with a victim. Works like a charm for Democrats, don't it? Make people out to be victims, then pander to them. Which means Iblis really can't be the evil one. You can sympathize with a victim. Iblis was commanded to do something unfair in his mind. He was commanded to prostrate before Adam. That's not fair. That's not justice. I'm the victim here. And these Islamofascists are following the same template of Iblis. Murderous agents who are able to keep pressing forward because the so-called progressives don't see them as terrorists, but as victims. Israel can be slammed by missiles. It doesn't matter. The Palestinians are the victims oppressed by Israel. They can gun down cartoonists and cops in France, but our president won't acknowledge them as Islamo-terrorists or associate them with Islam because he doesn't want to make Islam a victim of political incorrectness. A belligerent victim mentality is the fuel they burn to go victimize others. Why did they go on a murdering spree in France? Because they felt like a victim, just as their patriarch Iblis did. The progressives in office will pander to people with a victim mentality to our peril, and it's gonna cause chaos that's gonna sink nations into hell before it's over, the way Iblis wanted. The PC culture will yield to Islam in the name of fairness. A big reason why Islam will dominate is because they will assert that it is unfair that their religious practices are discriminated against, and Democrat policies will capitulate to them. It's happening across the world with other officials infected with political correctness. I'm Alfonso Rachel with ZoNation, and we're up against people who are terrorizing the world by reading the instructions in this book, and it's working for them. You want to learn how to beat it? Apply the instructions in this one. You're really going to get it when Christians pray for you.